as well. And I think we also have Singh from Freshworks who will be joining us as well. So welcome, Jonathan and Sunny.
Thank you
hey,
very
David,
much.
Thanks. Oh,
Great.
Hey, David. Thanks for the introduction there.
Not at all, not at all. Great to have you with us, guys. Are you sort of together? I'm assuming you're sort of together, which is fantastic, just to work out the mics, I suppose, and stuff. We've got your presentation ready to go, guys. So over to you. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thanks, David. Hey, Jonathan, just checking you can hear me okay?
All good, Sunny. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, welcome to our session, everybody. My name's Singh. I work for Freshworks. I'm part of the marketing team there. And joining me, I have Jonathan Wan, who I will introduce shortly. This session, we're going to be talking you through Real Chemistry's journey to adopting automation and some of their sort of ambitious plans that they have coming in the near future. We're going to be looking at how they're looking to use automation to drive efficiency and end user experience within their service desk tool. Now, just a really quick introduction into Freshworks. For those of you who don't know who we are, we were formerly known as Freshdesk and recently rebranded to Freshworks. We have a multitude of different products, as you can see from every word being fresh, starting with fresh there. Our core products are Freshdesk, Fresh Service, which is our ITSM tool or service desk tool, Fresh Sales, and then Fresh Marketer, which of course are CRM and marketing automation platforms. So I'm going to swiftly move on to introducing Jonathan Wan. Jonathan, hey, can you tell us about yourself and just give an introduction into who you are?
Yeah, thanks, Sunny. Thanks for having me, and thanks to the SDI for having us here today. It's always great to come and do these. So I'm Jonathan Wan. I'm the Global Head of Service Desk Team for Real Chemistry, and I also head up the IT for the EMEA region as well. I've been with Real Chemistry pushing 7 years now. So really joined it from sort of a small sort of startup-y type firm. We're probably about 250, 300 people strong globally by then to now we are, pretty big. We're up to sort of 2,000 people. So been here a little while and really worked from the bottom up. Came in as an IT manager and now obviously working my way up the ranks there into sort of a global team.
Amazing. It's good to see that you've climbed your way up through the ranks. That's really cool. Thanks for the introduction there, Jonathan. Now, speaking about Real Chemistry, you guys have just gone through a pretty substantial rebrand. Can you tell us a little bit about the company, please?
Yeah, sure. So we're formerly known as W2O Group, but we recently went through a rebrand called Real Chemistry. We are now a global health innovation company. So the main moral here is to make the world a healthier place. A lot of our clients are pharmaceutical clients, but we now want to go into more the tech innovation, the health innovation sector. So that was the main reason for the rebrand. We've also done a lot of acquisitions over the last 2 to 3 years with quite a lot of companies. So bringing them together and integrating as one is key. And it positions us a lot better into the market and into the specialist areas that we work in.
Amazing. Thank you, Jonathan. Now, if you're wondering what we look like, there are our mugshots right there. Now, Jonathan, let's talk through how you're using automation. But if we do, what use case for a service desk tool or an IT tool?
Yeah, so I mean, we were with another product prior to Fresh Service and talking to Freshworks, but we really got to a point where we're about 800 people to 1,000, and the current product we have just wasn't cutting it. So we went to market. We wanted to see what else was out there. We came across Fresh Service. Obviously, went with Fresh Service, but what Fresh Service really offered us were the scaling growth that a lot of the other companies weren't offering at the time. We knew there was automation there that could happen. We knew the pathway that Fresh Service were going. So we wanted a company that could grow with us and we could take through all the way through to as far as we can go and grow. Fresh Service caters for a lot of the ITSM stuff that we want to deal with, and we are doing, and a lot of the ITIL stuff, whereas the other product didn't. So it had a lot of the things we wanted. It ticked a lot of boxes, and the integrations and all the cool things that you want to think about doing, you can definitely do. So that's another factor.
Amazing. So let's specifically talk about your automation journey. How did you kind of embark on that journey of yours? What did you start off with?
Yeah, so we started off with looking at the orchestration and the Microsoft Teams integration. But really what started us on our journey and why we embarked on that journey, we were getting to a point where we're growing and scaling so fast that we wanted to relieve the load on our first line support team globally. They were doing mundane tasks, and we wanted to really nip that in the bud. And how can we look to automate that just to make it smoother for the agents, but also our customers and our end users, right? So how can we go about doing certain things and certain tasks that just alleviate that pressure and stress? That also allows, obviously, our team to focus on other areas, which I think we're going to talk to in a little while. But that's really how we started embarking on the journey. And there's two factors where we're focusing on, is the orchestration side and the Teams integration.
Amazing. Now, you just mentioned orchestration. Let's talk about that. How are you including orchestration into your overall strategy? What are the key things you're doing? Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, so just as a real example, Acrobat Pro or any of the Adobe products, what we want to do and what we are going to do is build that into a service request function within Freshservice. So the end user would go onto the front end portal, request a new service. They would go to software and they want Acrobat Pro, so they'd click that. It goes through a workflow. You can adjust that workflow. It's very agile. You can do whatever you want with it. For example, let's say there's manager approval for this particular software. Manager would approve it on the back end. They get an email, they click approve or deny, then approve it. That will go straight through with no agent interaction and install that software on the end user's machine. The end user would then get a notification to say this has been installed and you're ready to go, and it would update the licenses accordingly. That's just one great example of how we want to use and how we are going to use the orchestration side. You can use it for very, very wide span softwares, but that's just one small example as to how we're going to use it.
No, that's amazing. And I think there's always been a lot of talk about how actually automation and AI and all of these amazing features and functionalities are there not to sort of replace an agent, but they're there to alleviate those mundane, boring tasks, which are actually really important for sort of maintaining job satisfaction as well, because you want people to feel challenged and inspired in their roles, as opposed to doing repetitive tasks that actually, as we proved, can be done by technology, which is what it's there for, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And can I just add that we're using a software called Automox on the back end, which links in with Freshservice. So we're combining a couple of pieces to the puzzle to make sure that goes through.
Amazing. Now, you also touched a little bit on the Teams integration that you have. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so along with the orchestration in Teams, we want to have, ideally, you want to minimize the amount of reference points for your agents and your customers, right? So with the Teams integration, we use it every day. It's global product for us. We use it within Real Chemistry. So we want to make sure that we've given our customers as much guidance, as much help and support as possible. So Teams is integral to that because they're in there every day. So the Teams bot, the Freshservice bot that integrates into Teams, they can call on their tickets, their status of their tickets. They can action certain tasks within Teams without even having to go out into the portal, right? So just making it a lot easier for our customers to be able to work, get support through one or two areas or softwares is really key for us. We don't want people to be going outside and then struggling to find support. We want it nice and easy so that We can fix whatever they're doing. You know, time is money, right? Everyone's billable. So the quicker we get them up and running, the quicker we can offer that support. That's kind of the goal. And through Teams integration, that will definitely help us get there.
Yeah, and I think a big thing is, I mean, I used to work on employee engagement and employee communications and intranets before, and I think there are so many applications and tools that are exposed to employees. It's really difficult to sort of make sense of when to use certain tools, and actually trying to reduce the amount of different tools employees need to jump to and from makes a whole heap of difference when it's that end user experience and saving time. So that's an awesome little integration there. I like it. Now, speaking on employee experiences, let's touch on a little bit about how you're using automation to improve employee experiences. I know you're doing some really cool stuff when it comes to, or you're planning on doing some really cool stuff when it comes to onboarding.
Yeah, so, you know, first of all, speed, right? So we've got these integrations in place. Speed is basically what we're looking at. You know, one of the key factors. We want to make sure that everyone's getting the support quick and fast. But from an onboarding perspective, we're looking at doing a really cool thing. Is we have a HRIS system called Workday, and we almost want that to pull all the data into Freshservice using their onboarding platform within within that one product. That will give us, you know, all the assets. It will give us the softwares this person's going to need, location, anything and everything around an onboarding profile that you can think of. We'll have it in one place. It'll also give us the check marks and the stages that we can follow. So each department, if there's a task or an action for that department, we can see the workflow, we can see what stage it's at. So from an IT perspective, right, we want to have all that information first before we actually start a machine or a user profile. So that's kind of what, you know, we're looking at doing, which will definitely help from an onboarding experience.
And it definitely helps during this time where actually so many people are switching jobs during this lockdown. And if we're in the UK, you know, we're not so much in a lockdown anymore, but actually, you know, there's a lot of people I've never met stuff or other team members in the first week. So making that onboarding process a little bit easier is really cool. Makes a great first impression, I think. So with these steps that you're taking to automate, how do you think, what impact do you think this is going to make on driving efficiency with agents? Because that's the key here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So a positive impact. You know, there's some people out there that will see, oh, automation is a negative thing, right? But it's really not the case, and we shouldn't be looking at it like that. The way we see it is, how can you be more efficient? Well, if we automate these processes and these things, it allows our agents to then go and do more interesting work, more technical work. It allows them to do development, more training, work on more projects. So if we can alleviate that first line support and they can work on more technical second, third line and get involved in different areas of the business that they wouldn't normally have a chance to do, that's kind of what we're looking at doing. The efficiency is there. They're not having to worry about these basic tasks. They can really hone in on their technical skill set and concentrate a lot more, spend more time on the more complex issues. Building that all together just makes them a lot more efficient and a lot more in the know as to what's going on elsewhere.
Amazing. No, that's really cool. And then finally, my final question is, of course, when it comes to automation making things efficient, you know, it's important that we measure the effects of your efforts and all this time and energy you're taking into implementing these features and functionalities. What metrics are you using to measure success?
Yeah, so there's an analytics portion of Freshservice, which gives you some real in-depth data. We'll be able to track via the request a service option, which is the orchestration part which will be used when users request it. We should be able to pull the data out of that and gauge whether the automation has been successful or not. And the way we would gauge that is, how many times has X amount of software been installed without agent intervention, right? How many times has there been no agent needing to update that ticket or to intervene with that ticket? How is our CSAT looking, right? The customer experience. So looking at that, you know, do they report back that it was a seamless automated process? Do they report back that they needed an agent to intervene and, you know, something didn't quite work? So that's how we're really going to be using the data, the analytics to our advantage to gauge whether it's going to be a success or not.
Amazing. Jonathan, thank you so much. I really appreciate the short sort of 15 minutes you've spent here with me. That is our final question for Jonathan, guys. Thanks again, Jonathan. And I just wanted to say to everybody listening, please do get in touch, as we have a really cool case study with Real Chemistry. The case study highlights how they've been scaling from a legacy platform to a new solution, how they've driven SLAs for the service they deliver, and taking real ownership of service requests, in addition to this amazing automation story so you've heard from Real Chemistry, who of course were formerly known as W2O. Jonathan, again, thank you so much. And David, I don't know if you have any questions for myself and Jonathan. If not, I'm happy to sort of take them later on with sort of follow-ups and reach outs.
Lovely, thank you, gentlemen. There's again a great sort of story about an organisation's push towards this kind of new way of thinking, I think, around service. We have got a question that's come through. I think I've written a whole lot of points that if we do get time for, I'd like to cover. But we've got a question from Tom, and Tom asks, when you talk about automation in Freshworks, is this automation performed by putting these processes manually in place, or is AI involved in the process as well? And that's a fair point, Tom, because I was going to sort of question the validity where we are right now of approval. So if we've got a manager, a human approving something, when are we going to be in a position where actually AI approves stuff and takes that away from somebody as well, based on key factors and actually using a little bit of intelligence? So yeah, Freshworks, guys, automation, is that sort of putting the process in manually, or is there AI involved in setting that up as well?
I think it's both. So it depends on the circumstance and situation. We do have an AI bot, Freddy, which learns requests very, very quickly. It's quite intuitive, and it does have that machine learning element. But it does depend on the complexity of the request. If it's a very if you can set a criteria saying, okay, this person needs to be from this department, needs to be from this seniority, and they can make their own requests for their teams, for example, then yes, you can set it up to automatically approve just by it figuring out these elements of the request and the type of request. There is also a manual part of it where I think in Jonathan's case, Jonathan, correct me if I'm wrong, it is a manual approval. So it is an initial person just saying, yes, I approve this. This is done automatically. And when it comes to actually getting the end user's details and making sure they have a license. I hope that's answered your question.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you for that. We've got a couple of minutes left, and I think it was really good to hear the points around the positive aspect of automation. And I'm certainly, and have done for many years now, when we talk about these kinds of technologies, challenging organizations to consider not using the efficiencies to reduce headcount, to reduce cost, but seeing the time that is gained through this kind of technology to invest back into people, to invest back into becoming a preferred employer, to invest back into training, into development, into succession planning. And I think the clever organizations, the people who really get what this means as we move forward, are going to be the organizations that people want to go and work for, because they've got these things in place. And conversely, I think that the organizations who do see this kind of change as a way to sort of push cost out, maybe increase shareholder value, right? Whatever you think of that, there's the potential that they will lose an edge on recruiting the best people. And I don't know what you think about that, guys. You've got 1 minute, but is that how you've approached that there, Jonathan? Is that what you're trying to do? Are you trying to make sure that the people come first when the automation's happening?
Absolutely, and we've got to think of it as a positive positive thing. There's too much negativity out there where people go, I'm going to lose my job. It's not the case. At Real Chemistry, we're growing and scaling at such a pace that we've never grown or added headcount this much ever. And within the IT team, we're doing exactly the same. We are putting numbers on there. We're increasing the support along with the automation. And like you said, you know, our main goal is to improve what we currently have, get the development out there, get the training, upskill our people, and let's get them to, you know, their goals and targets that they want to achieve. And that's, the people come first at Real Chemistry, I have to say.
Yeah, that's good. And that's what I'm going to be interested in watching, I think, over the next 2 or 3 years, is how organizations come to terms. We saw earlier that 60% of our listeners haven't really started yet. So it'll be interesting to see how these organizations prepare for the future and how they adopt this kind of stuff. Really interesting. Guys, thank you very much indeed for that. Thank you for joining. Look, and hope to speak very, very soon. We're going to move on. Thanks, guys. Thank you. We're going to move on. Next, we welcome Elliot Bath, Service and Automation Manager at Matrix IT, who will be talking about, again, the automation initiatives